I'm Jeremy Parish, and this is the Games Behind the Games, brought to you by Limited Run Games and Greenlit Content. In this series, I meet with game developers to learn more about the games that have inspired their own work, by chatting about those games as we play them together. This time I flew out to LA, to the offices of WayForward Technologies, where Tomm Hulett took on Ninja Gaiden for NES, the game that helped inspire his work on modern-day action titles like Spidersaurs and The Mummy Demastered. So, Tom, how are things going?
They're good. I'm playing Ninja Gaiden.
Let's talk a little bit about Ninja Gaiden and how this relates to some of your recent work. What is some of your recent work? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, we just finished Spidersaurs, which is a platform shooter that's on Apple Arcade. Mm-hmm. I recently worked on Bloodstained with Koji Igarashi. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I worked on Mummy a couple years ago.
Yep. Well, I guess maybe not so much with Spidersaurs, but with Bloodstained and The Mummy Demastered, that's, kind of non-linear action games. But this is not a non-linear action game. This is as linear as it gets, but it's definitely way up there with the action.
Definitely. This cutscene told everyone in my generation, hey, video games, they can be like TV shows.
They're art. A-R-T with a capital A.
With a capital A.
Dang.
And it was obviously hard. I could never beat it as a kid. And then I kind of came back to it with the Wii Virtual Console, which happens to
which has save states.
Yes, it happened to time out with when we were working on Contra 4. WayForward developed it. I was at Konami at the time. I played through it because I wanted to beat it, and there's an unfortunate mechanic at the end where if you die anywhere in the final stage, if you game over anywhere in the final stage, or if you die on one of the bosses, you restart the final stage from scratch.
I think it's only if you die against the bosses, right? You go back to the beginning of 6-1.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, if you die against the bosses.
If you die in the level, then you go back to the beginning of that level, like usual. But if you die at the boss,
even once,
very end, even once, all the way. Is it even once?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Man, that game was so hard to beat. It was a bug, and when they were playing through it, they found the bug and said, actually, you know what? This way's better. This is way more cruel. Let's do this.
Well, I'm glad they did, because by the time I completed that stage, I thought, I can get through this whole stage without dying. So I mastered Ninja Gaiden to the degree during Contra 4's development that I could complete it without dying. I'm not sure my skill's still at that level, but I really learned how a stage is put together with the patterns. People talk about how the game is, you have the random birds coming out, but it's all very specific per pixel spawn windows. And so once you learn those, it's really a game about running and then stopping and knowing when you're running or stopping.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to interview the designer of this game, Hideo Yoshizawa, a few years ago. I mentioned the fact that there is this rhythm to it, and you have to kind of feel the rhythm of the game, and as you're playing, everything kind of becomes almost like second nature, and he was like, oh yeah, you get it. That's exactly what he was going for.
Back when I was working on Contra 4, I just started at Konami so I could make games instead of just localizing them, which I'd done at Atlas. With Contra 4, we really wanted to stick to what are all the Contra rules. We need to do all those rules. It has to act like a Contra game. It has to feel like a perfect Contra game, and we did a good job, I think. But then with future projects where it's not branded, it's kind of interesting to think of, okay, well, this is the same game as this other thing that I like. Why does it do the things it does? And then why does it not do other things? So, like Contra and Ninja Gaiden have a fixed jump height. I can't jump less high than that. Your height's fixed, but you can actually really pixel perfect your direction.
Right.
So you can scale up a wall. And with Contra, it's because you can aim in midair, and it's difficult for a slightly inexperienced gamer to jump and manage a jump height and aim in 8 directions. There's other things where we might decide, oh, we don't want to do that because Contra had a very specific reason for doing that, and we either want to do the opposite or we want a different effect. It gives me a lot of freedom as a designer to decide, do I want to do that too? Or should I skip it, find my own thing, do something that a totally different game does for a weird back and forth feel? I don't know. It's been fun. That's kind of where I'm at lately with my design brain. I know that some people had issue with Contra 4's difficulty.
It's a Contra game, so what do you expect?
Yes, and WayForward didn't tell me there was a 30 life code, so...
Is there a 30 life code?
There is, it's on the touch screen. Yeah. Imagine the touch screen as quadrants. It's out there though, you can look it up now. But if you do that when you drop from the helicopter at the start, before you hit the ground, you'll get 30 lives. It's in the public sphere, but not widely, because I found out when I came here many years later. So definitely use it now.
You were the producer on the game, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't tell you that, by the way, there's this hidden thing.
They snuck it in.
That is the classic definition of Easter egg, though. Even the boss doesn't know.
Yeah, they snuck it in, and Matt Bozon found out after the fact, and he didn't want to risk Konami being mad about it, so he didn't tell me. And so when I came to WayForward, the first thing he told me was, oh my gosh, Tom, there's a 30 life code in Contra 4.
You know, the lead director, designer of this, Masato Kato, who went on to write a lot of games like Xenogears and Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger too. Like he kind of started out as an artist and a comics illustrator. So I think that a lot of that went into the design of this, is that sort of thoughtful, like I'm telling a story here. Visual storytelling in this game and the the cutscenes and everything, how has that influenced your work, if at all?
Well, I somehow always work in a reference to this game. In the Adventure Time games, we actually use the Ninja Gaiden style storytelling, because you got to get that really intense face with the eyes, when the eyes of your character are just dots. And in Goosebumps, I fit in just a grill. Get out of here.
Nice.
Obviously, you said the guy that made them had a vision. Like he worked it. He didn't just say, let's put in cutscenes with images and text. He was like, okay, let's frame them and let's have them sliding in here to imply movement, and the castle that fakes parallax. Like that's cool. He cared about it. And so, in all my games, I care about the story, even if it's just jokes. You could do that without caring about it, or you could do it and care about it, and make some people laugh, or just make memorable dialogue that they'll remember a character really well, or something minor. And so I try to do that, just respecting the story, even if it's not a story game. Now, when you wall jump, when you play this game, do you jump for each kickoff? When do you go jump, jump, jump? Because after I've learned to beat it without dying, you can just use the D-pad.
Oh, can you?
You hold down jump and use the D-pad. Well, it's much faster.
Yeah. That's the great thing about a nicely designed game, is that it continues to reveal its secrets years later.
That part right there is my favorite gameplay moment ever.
With things coming from every direction.
You have to, it's coming from every direction, and you have to jump and then hang in midair, right where that candle, so the guy's thing goes beneath you, and it's, oh my gosh.
This is also a great gameplay moment. Birds just coming out of nowhere. I think this is the point at which you take the L and just say, okay, I'm dead.
This might be it.
Because you can certainly make the final run here, but the question is, do you want to? Oh!
I made it in the door.
That was a lucky break, actually. No, if you had been knocked into that room with like 1 point of health,
it's true.
That would have been the worst. Can you imagine? So you got lucky to have died at the threshold.
And we didn't spoil it for anybody.
That's right. So they can experience the hell that is the final boss gauntlet for themselves. Anyway, Tom, thank you for your time. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more Ninja Gaiden inspired games from you. Or not. I mean, if you want to go easy on us, that's okay too.
No.
That's great.